This is what being a NASCAR fan is all about. Singular history and tradition.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out. This is so special.
Unmatched on-track intensity.
We gotta go.
And triple-header playoffs action to ratchet up the stakes. Throw in a can't-miss concert, camping, and the legendary atmosphere of Talladega Boulevard. And you've got more than a race. You've got Talladega. Get your tickets now at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com.
Roll Tide and welcome to this Tuesday edition of Crimson Drive driven by NASCAR. This is Roger Hoover with you from our Tuscaloosa studios. Yes, it's Tuesday, of course, so when it's not football season, we have this show for you once a week on Thursdays at 2 o'clock, but every Alabama football game week, it is Crimson Drive driven by NASCAR on Tuesdays and Thursdays as 2 o'clock streaming live here on all of our social media platforms. So we're glad you're with us as we focus on week one, Alabama against Western Kentucky. We'll go through everything coming up on the show today thanks to our friends at RJ Young. RJ Young is the official technology solutions provider of Crimson Drive. They've given us a smart board to go through everything plus our headlines in a very interactive way. We will start by talking with a one-on-one conversation with CJ Dippre, one of the outstanding tight ends for the Crimson Tide, who joined Alabama last year from Maryland. He'll talk about everything that's new with Kalen DeBoer's system, especially on offense, plus some of the new sideline technology, sideline communication to the field. Really interesting conversation with CJ. Then we'll take a look at our Hey Coach preview by visiting with the voice of the Crimson Tide, Chris Stewart, get his thoughts on not only Hey Coach and the Kalen DeBoer show coming up tomorrow in Tuscaloosa, but we'll get his thoughts on week one between Alabama and Western Kentucky. Then we'll go over to the soccer pitch for a conversation with Ashley Roni. We actually recorded it at the Advantage Center at Bryant-Denny Stadium, but you know what I mean. We're going to talk Alabama soccer with Ashley Roni as she is navigating through some injuries during her freshman campaign, but great perspective on the Crimson Tide. Then we'll close it out with football with Kalen DeBoer. Take a look at Coach's checklist from his press conference yesterday in Tuscaloosa. Monday press conferences are back because Saturday it all begins. The year one of the Kalen DeBoer era, Alabama against Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky, a pretty strong first opponent, went 8-5 a year ago, won their bowl game against Old Dominion. Kickoff is set for 6 p.m. Our radio airtime will be 3 o'clock at Vector Security Champions Lane. We'll talk more about this on Thursday's show, but make sure you join us outside Bryant-Denny Stadium at Vector Security Champions Lane as we will start the new season of Crimson Tide football on the radio. Speaking of the radio, congratulations to former defender Damian Square, a sideline analyst who is a part of some great early teams in the Saban era. He will be joining us as our sideline reporter. We'll be featuring a conversation with Damian coming up on Thursday's edition of Crimson Drive, but we're thrilled to welcome him to our crew as we get ready for the start of the Kalen DeBoer era. The Wes Hart era in soccer is now 10 years strong, and it is continuing to be a strong era for Alabama soccer. Last week picked up wins against first North Alabama and then Tennessee Chattanooga. Nadia Ramadan had a brace against the Lions last Thursday, and then Gianna Paul said, hey, I can do that too. She did that on Sunday in the scenic city of Chattanooga, and that win against Chattanooga, 4-0 victory for the Crimson Tide, the 100th victory for head coach Wes Hart. Busy weekend coming up at home after being on the road at Chattanooga. Coming up on Thursday, it's Alabama at 7 p.m. taking on the FAU Owls, and then coming up on Sunday, Alabama will host at 6 p.m. Southern Miss. Watch both of those on SEC Network Plus. Speaking of SEC Network Plus, that's where you can find volleyball. The season will start with the Crimson Tide Invitational over the weekend at Foster Auditorium as Alabama will be hosting Grambling State, plus the Citadel and UT Martin. Rashinda Reed will be joining Chris Stewart to talk about that coming up on Hey Coach and the Kalen DeBoer show tomorrow. Tip of the cap to one of our favorites, Haley McClenny. She has retired from the game of softball after a distinguished pro and international career following her time at the Capstone. Just one of the absolute best. Coach Murphy had the chance to be there at her final game, so we say roll tide to Haley McClenny. Look forward to visiting with her in the future. Also, some game day reminders available on RolledTide.com. Some things have changed for mobile tickets and entry to Bryant-Denny Stadium. Make sure you go online to RolledTide.com and learn the latest about what it's going to be like on game day. And as always, plan ahead. Make sure you download your tickets now, download your parking passes now to your mobile wallet. Just makes everything so much simpler on game day here in Tuscaloosa. For CJ Dippre, because stuff's a little complicated sometimes on game day. He's got a lot to remember as a tight end, not only involved in the blocking schemes, but the pass routes as well. He is a very versatile player, and he joins us this week on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, as we get ready to start the season. Roll Tide and welcome back to Bryant-Denny Stadium at the Advantage Center podcast studio. I'm Roger Hoover. Now pleased to be joined by Alabama football tight end CJ Dippre as game week is finally here. CJ, you ready to go against Western Kentucky?
Yes, sir. I can't wait. I'm really excited for this season to come up, and it's starting here. I can't believe it's already back, but, I'm ready for Bryant-Denny Stadium to get packed again.
We certainly are as well. How were the last few weeks with fall camp? How were the adjustments to the morning practices?
It's been great. I'm a morning person. I love coming up, getting my work done, and then, having the rest of the day to reflect on it, watch the film for the day, and then we have afternoon meetings, afternoon walkthroughs, so you can kind of understand what went wrong during practice or what went really well and why it did, so then we can, watch the film, get better, and then, the next day, wake up early in the morning and get it done again. But, last few weeks obviously been grueling. Fall camp's probably the hardest part of the year for a football player, and it's a lot of team bonding though, so everyone comes together, then everyone really becomes a brotherhood because day in, day out, you're there from 6 in the morning till 8 at night, 8:30 at night every day together as a team. So you kind of get to feel for everybody, and everyone becomes like a brotherhood, like I said.
When looking at some of your work in blocking, who are you going up against the most? Who'd you get tired of after time went on during camp?
The two bigger guys I've been going up against is definitely Zebo and then LT. LT transferred in, is a great athlete, and he's a big body, so it's really hard to, get used to that. So, it's awesome blocking both of them. I know, iron sharpens iron, so I know they're getting better from me blocking them. I'm getting better from having to go against them.
That's really good to see. And then with the tight end, what's the role of the tight end in this Alabama offense?
Yeah, I think the tight end in this offense with Coach Dippre really has to be able to do it all. We're spread out a lot at number 1, 2, or 3. We're in the core. We're in the backfield sometimes. So I think you have to just be able to do it all and understand what role you have. As a tight end, you have to know the offensive line scheme. You have to know the play call, what the quarterback sees. You have to know the safety level. You have to know everything about the defense. You have to know the receiver routes because you can be put in any position on the offense. So just knowing how to do it all and properly executing your job is a huge thing to be a successful tight end in this program.
So with all those things in mind, how do you get organized, especially when learning a new playbook? What do you do during the week to make sure you're good to go on Saturday?
Yeah, so you kind of just take notes every day. Every single day. A lot of the times you're talking about your base play, a base run or a base pass, and you always write notes. Always write notes about the signals, the boards, whatever it is that's about, and what you have to know to understand that play. And then you write, I write that down, and then over on the side I write down how I remember it. If it's a specific signal about this play, why do I remember it by like this? Or why is this concept called like this? What does it have to do with the letters and the words? So it's kind of just, taking little notes that lets your mind remember it. So then when you're on the field, you can properly execute fast and don't have to think about it as much.
You're looking forward to having iPads on the sidelines, getting to see some video in game?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a huge plus for players because we can come off, especially for the quarterback position. I'm sure Jalen's going to want to come off, see what he saw, see what possibly he didn't see, and be able to correct that for the next drive. So, all positions, you miss a block or you don't get the right route recognition off a guy, and then you can see what went wrong. So, defenses usually run the same stuff if that messes up an offense. So if they run it the next time on the next drive, you're like, oh, I just watched this on film and be able to do it without having to, think back in your memory. So much goes on during a game. You don't have to think about, what happened then. You can actually watch it on the iPad physically, so it'd be awesome.
People have talked a lot about that as something new this year. Also, the in-helmet communication. Now, an offense that'll mostly go to Jalen. How will he make sure all you guys are on the same page, even though that step of the process has been different?
Yeah, so we're definitely a high-tempo offense. We don't huddle a lot, but for him to be able to, get what Coach Sheridan's saying through the earpiece, and then, him, we call it a sugar huddle, him in the offensive line huddle, and, he can tell them. They don't have to worry about looking at the boards. He can tell them really quick and then get his eyes up, read the defense as fast as he could. So, and then on defense, one of our middle linebackers will have it in. So, he can get the call and then read what the offense is doing. So it's just a faster process for them to see what's going on the defense or offense side of the ball. So they don't have to, worry about a signal, a coach, what they want to do, and then have to look at it. They could just get it through the earpiece. And then I believe the coach can talk to them for a few seconds, maybe up until 15 or 20 seconds till the ball snaps. So, like, oh, we're going to check this player. Oh, alert this. So I don't know if that's illegal. I that's what I've heard. So I don't really know.
Has it gone smoothly in practice with all that stuff?
Yeah, it's gone pretty smoothly. I think it's great because, it's an up-tempo of the game. Obviously you come to Alabama because you want to play in the NFL. So I think it's good to get that kind of exposure to it. And, I think it's good. I think there's been a little minor problems. Obviously it's all new. I'm sure there's rules around it for what kind of devices you could use, what has to be in his ear, and that kind of stuff. But I think it's been working really well.
Going back to Jalen Milroe, you were a teammate of his a year ago. Just what a difference a year has made for him, especially with the new offense. What are you liking about him right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think he stepped up so much in a year. You know, he was a great player last year, and I think this year he's kind of just calmed down and really focused on the basics. You know, everyone last year he could throw the deep ball, he could run the ball. He's such a superb athlete, and I think this year people are going to see he is an accurate quarterback. He could throw that ball across the middle, or he could throw that short pass that maybe some people thought he'd struggle with. But I think he's taken huge steps. You know, a few of us went down to Tampa this offseason in May, and we trained. You know, so I got the luxury of going down, and we had a great time. You know, and I think that just going, you know, on our off time, making that connection for all of us few that went is huge, because I think it dragged on through the summer and fall camp, just how much of a connection we're all getting now.
Pretty excited about these wide receivers?
Yeah, I'm super excited. You know, we got a couple of new guys, a couple of returning guys, a couple of freshmen, so I'm really excited to see what the whole core does and who gets, you know, makes a lot of plays.
And then for you, just how much have you enjoyed your Alabama experience? Time before at the University of Maryland, you transferred before last season, so you get to be on the final Nick Saban coach team and the first one coached by Coach Dippre here.
Yeah, I definitely think that in that situation, it's kind of a best of both worlds. You know, I entered the portal. You know, I came down to visit Alabama just to see it, just to meet Coach Saban. You know, I didn't really think of anything of it. And, you know, later on, I was like, how do I not come play for Coach? You know, I'm going to regret this in 20 years if I don't come play for the best coach in college football. And, you know, I came down and I loved it. I'm so happy I got to play for Coach, especially being his last year. It kind of carries a little more. Win an SEC championship, his last SEC championship. So I think it carries a little more. And now starting the new era, so, you know, we can build up what Coach Dippre is about to be. You know, Coach is going to always bring in his guys, but us being the foundation of what is going to start his career off here, I think it's awesome. I love it.
What kind of motivator is Coach Dippre?
You know, I think he's a great motivator. I think he's more of a, you know, he's a lot closer. I feel like Coach Saban, you know, Coach is a huge name, celebrity kind of guy. So it was hard to get to talk to him or around him outside of team meetings. So Coach Dippre, you know, he's around a lot. It's awesome to talk to him. He's kind of just, you know, another guy that has so much respect for the game. So it's awesome just to be around him. I'm on the leadership committee, so I get to talk to him even a little more. So it's awesome just to, you know, have a head guy like that who knows so much about football and that's going to lead this program, you know, be able to talk to anytime.
Then how about Coach Sheridan? What have you liked about spending time with him?
Yeah, Coach Sheridan's been awesome. You know, he originally came here as a tight end coach. So, you know, the first 2 or 3 weeks when he still was the tight end coach, I was going through an injury at the time, so every day I was in his office talking to him. So we built a really strong connection. And then when he said he was offense coordinator, you know, I wanted him as a tight end coach, so it bothered me a little bit. But he knows, you know, like I love that. You know, we already had a connection going. I think he's a great ball coach. He knows football, and I'm really excited what he could do with this offense.
So Saturday, it's Alabama against Western Kentucky. What's going to be most important for you in this Crimson Tide offense?
I think the biggest thing is, you know, we got to just play Bama ball. You know, no matter who our opponent is, I think the only way we could lose is if Bama beats Bama. You know, controlling our penalties, controlling our emotions, and just doing our rules. You know, we've gone through so much, you know, coaching change, spring ball, transfers, summer, 7-on-7s, fall camp just ended. And I think we just got to focus on what we've been trained to do, you know, and just keeping the main thing, and just going through it like that.
What's your favorite part of game day?
My favorite part of game day is probably the Walk of Champions home game, like as home games. I'm a huge fan of playing on the road. I love playing on the road. I love playing in a hostile environment. It's just you, your brothers, your staff there. I mean, yeah, you have parents, you have some fans, but everyone is against you. You know, it's just you guys, and it's like one of the best feelings in the world. There's so much adrenaline going. I love seeing new places I've never seen, but for home games here in Tuscaloosa, I love the Walk of Champions. You know, so many people come out, and that's like 2 or 3 hours before kickoff, and you have people 5-6 rows deep just watching you walk in your suits, and it gets the hype and gets the energy going for the moment.
Can't wait. It's coming Saturday, Alabama against Western Kentucky. CJ Dippre, just thank you so much for all the time you've given us here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Best of luck. Roll Tide.
Appreciate you guys. Roll Tide.
Crimson Drive is driven by NASCAR. Later this week, Alabama football's back. Coming up in October, Alabama racing is back. Don't miss the opportunity to experience the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs at Talladega. Witness the return of racing on October 6th and be a part of NASCAR's biggest and baddest track. From the blistering speed on the track to the unparalleled fan access of the Talladega Garage experience, there's something for everyone to enjoy. Tickets on sale now. Secure your seats today for the Yellowwood 500 at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com. We continue on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, still talking football. Now we're joined by the voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide, Chris Stewart, who is getting set to take over the full-time role as the play-by-play voice of Alabama football on the radio after he filled in for Eli Gold 2 years ago, called all the road games in the postseason last year. But now Chris, Tyler Watts are ready to go for what's coming up this season, along with our new sideline analyst, as Chris will mention, Damian Square. A lot to be excited about, but a lot to be excited about with this Crimson Tide football team in year one of the Kalen DeBoer era. Now, coming up tomorrow night, we will have Hey Coach and the Kalen DeBoer Show live from Baumhower's Victory Grill in Tuscaloosa starting at 6 p.m. Chris is the host of that, and each and every Tuesday this season on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, we'll get a preview of Alabama's game and Hey Coach from Chris Stewart. Week one, it's Western Kentucky, and Chris, we're excited as well for Hey Coach and the Kalen DeBoer Show coming up on Wednesday. Roll Tide, buddy.
Roll Tide, my man. Yeah, just excited to be back in the regular schedule again. We got a couple of really good weeks of the show behind us already, but the main event does start with Coach checking in and joining us, and that'll be a lot of fun. Looking forward to doing the first show with him on Wednesday night at Baumhower's Victory Grill in Tuscaloosa. Having Coach and the guest lineup still to be finalized. We'll have that all posted on our social media, but we know that the main attraction and Coach DeBoer is going to be there, and that should be an awful lot of fun. Excited about it.
Yeah, the fan base is really excited to get to see him at Baumhower's with you for the first time, gearing up for a football game. Just what have you liked about your interactions with Coach DeBoer? We just saw the first episode of his television show come out this weekend. How have you enjoyed getting to know the new head coach of the Tide?
Am I allowed to say everything? Because, look, we all know, we all understands, and nobody better than him. Once we get to Saturday, it's about winning and losing completely. But up to this point, I'm not sure how the man could have done everything to this point any better than he has. He's been fantastic to deal with in terms of our interaction. Other media outlets have really appreciated the access and what they've gotten to know about him. I've said it multiple times, but I've never seen a better combination of self-confidence and humility than what we're getting from him. He understands where he is. He understands the expectations, but he also believes that he's prepared himself for this with everything that he's done professionally to this point. And look, even Nick Saban was like this 18 years ago now. He thought he knew, but he didn't really know until he got here and experienced it. And while there was always the belief that he could get the job done, until you get that accomplished, and none of us could have foreseen the historic level of success that Coach Saban had. But man, Coach DeBoer, I think, is a great fit, and it's been at a very, very exciting time to get to here. And now I think all of us, most especially him, are looking forward to getting to what's next, and that's the games themselves.
What have you enjoyed learning about his football team and the fall camp they've had the last few weeks?
I think the fact that it certainly helps when you hear Nick Saban say defense looks much improved from what he had seen earlier. He's a pretty good analyst. He's one of us now. He's just dang media, which I'm next time I get a chance to talk to him one-on-one, that's what I'm going to call him, is you're just dang media. But obviously the improvement in the main guys, Coach DeBoer, seeing the improvement that he has and really liking what he's seen there. But I think also the fact that the offense will look similar in that it's going to be a case of just putting things in place that look like Kalen DeBoer wants it to look. They're going to be a team that's going to give you multiple looks. They're going to throw it a ton, but we've also got the ability to run the football at a high level. So Nick Saban evolved in the last several years. And I think that what we see now is what he wanted to accomplish, and that is really stretch defenses, put pressure on them in a big way, and absolutely Bama's got a lot of playmakers that can do that, and also an offensive line that can give the quarterbacks, starting with Jalen Milroe, time to get things done.
Really excited to see that. We're excited to kick off this season as well on radio. Obviously, you've done that with Hey Coach and the Kalen DeBoer Show for the last few weeks. But for you, taking over this role as full-time play-by-play voice of Alabama football, how meaningful is it to you? How special will Saturday be for you?
It will be extremely exciting, sentimental, just the slightest bit of sadness that that my father is not around anymore to see that. Lost him about 4 years ago, and I know how much he would have enjoyed 3 years ago now with Dad, but how much he would have gotten a kick out of seeing his boy in the booth and getting to have the honor of being next. And you and I've talked about this many times. It is incredible as Eli's career has been. What makes all of this so meaningful to me is that I'm following Eli, who followed John Forney, who followed Paul Kennedy, who followed John Forney, if you know the timeline, who followed Maury Farrell, and several men before that called games in different forms. And to be the next one in an amazing line of broadcasters is what means so much to me. I listened to John Forney as a little boy and then got to know John in my early in my career and late in his life. Paul Kennedy's a friend who calls and encourages me frequently, and I appreciate that so much. And of course, as you and I both have done, working shoulder to shoulder with Eli over the years and getting to be next is extremely meaningful. And I'm grateful and thankful that I'll have you by my side in the role that you'll have, obviously Tyler as well, but you do such a great job of assisting with the ability that you have to see the game through a play-by-play announcer's eyes and add elements just by pointing at something on a spotting board that helps me tell the story to our listeners. And there's nobody better at spotting than Butch is. But really also, and I know you're going to get to this, but adding Damian Square to our team. Tyler and I have worked together forever on high school broadcast and working together last year with him on a split duty role on the games with him as a color analyst. But Damian Square's love of Alabama, his enthusiasm, I think he's going to be a great, great addition to our crew, and we'll have a really good time with him as well. And assuming Tom Stipe does what he does, and that's get us on the air as well as anybody, we're going to have a really good time.
We're going to have a really good time. And assuming Tom Stipe does what he does outside this year at Vector Security Champions Lane, everyone will get a chance to come and say hello 3 hours prior to kickoff. You got to love that coming back here in Tuscaloosa.
It is going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, we're bringing back the element of the pregame show, Roger, where we do that out near the Walk of Champions, but in Champions Lane, which is the new area where there'll be concerts throughout the year. But really our broadcast kind of kicking things off, and we're excited about that opportunity, and you'll be great in hosting that and steering us through all of that. No pun intended, you steering us through Champions Lane. But it will be fun because we get a chance to meet with and be with Alabama fans. We will hydrate because it's going to be 1,000 degrees Saturday with a heat index of 1,005. But it's still going to be great to be there and back in Tuscaloosa, Bryant-Denny Stadium, for all that will take place and getting things kicked off against Western Kentucky.
Steering pun already. I mean, Chris Stewart is in midseason form. We are ready to go.
Even by accident. So
we love it. Well, Chris, best to you and everybody getting ready for what's coming up later this week, not just with Wednesday's edition of Hey Coach and the Kalen DeBoer Show, but the game broadcast as well. Look forward to catching up with you on this show each and every week to get your thoughts on Alabama football. But thank you for your time. Roll Tide, buddy.
You got it, partner. Thanks so much.
This is what being a NASCAR fan is all about.
Gets the win at Talladega.
Singular history and tradition. And triple-header playoffs action to ratchet up the stakes. Get your tickets now at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com.
Again, Chris Stewart will be joining us here on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, each and every Tuesday to take a look back at the previous Crimson Tide football game, look ahead, plus preview Hey Coach and the Kalen DeBoer Show, again coming up tomorrow at 6 p.m. And near the end of the interview, he mentioned that we're going to have the first bit of our pregame show outside at Vector Security Champions Lane. And one other thing I wanted to note about Champions Lane, we're going to show you a full map, show you everything that's going on at Champions Lane before our Thursday show, or in the early moments of our Thursday show. But I wanted to show you this Alabama Yeti. It's black. It's got the baseball scripts in metallic Alabama across the front. You can only purchase this. This is an exclusive that you can find at Champions Lane, Vector Security Champions Lane, throughout Alabama's home games this season. So make sure you check it out. Last year we sold Yetis like this at Champions Lane, and they went very, very quickly. So make sure, especially with that baseball script, you get that and you're ready to go for the upcoming season. Speaking of being ready to go, when her opportunity comes about, will be Ashley Roni of the Alabama soccer team. Of course, Alabama off to a winning start this year, as Ashley Roni, a highly touted freshman, has been working her way back a bit from an injury that she sustained in the spring. We talk about her road to recovery, plus the road that got her from Washington to Alabama. Does that sound familiar? We're talking a lot about that this year. But Ashley Roni is one of the newest Alabama soccer players, and she joins us next here on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Roll Tide and welcome back to Bryant-Denny Stadium. We're inside the Advantage Center at our podcast studio. I'm Roger Hoover. Now pleased to be joined by Alabama soccer freshman forward Ashley Roni, who's gearing up for her first season wearing the crimson and the white. And Ashley, Roll Tide. We're glad to have you here. How exciting is this time of the year for you? Obviously, you've been thinking about what it's going to be like to be a college soccer player. Now the time is here with Alabama's season starting.
I'm so excited. I know the build-up from junior year of committing here, it's just like I've been inching to get on the field, and just being here with the team and like being on campus, and the culture here is just amazing. I'm just so excited to start.
Let's talk about this team first for just a second. What have you seen from this group over the last few weeks of preseason practice? What makes you feel like this group's ready to go?
Our team is just awesome. Every practice, our one exhibition game, like everyone is just ready to go. I think the mentality is just amazing. We're so competitive. Every practice, it's like, feels like a game. Like watching it from the sideline, it's like everyone is 100% in. And I think that's what really drives this team, is like everyone is ready to go, and like everyone is ready to push each other. And so I'm so excited for this team. I think we're going to have an awesome year.
Who sets the tone from a player perspective in terms of leadership?
Honestly, I think Brooke does a really good job, like using her voice on and off the field. I think Jess doesn't use her voice as much, but she's a great leader. She really leads by example. I'd say she's kind of a lead by example captain. I think Sydney Yapich does a good job, like using her voice on the field as well, like really communicating and like letting players know when to turn man on and kind of stuff like that. I think she does a really good job with her voice. And
those players you just mentioned all play in the defender position, and defense is talked about a lot here at 100%. Alabama. How important is that?
Our defense is so important. I think like our team mentions a lot Hunt, and I think that's something we've really emphasized. And our defense is kind of like our backbone. Like we need them for everything.
Is that something you're used to coming from high school or club, or is it emphasized a lot more here?
I think it's emphasized a lot more here, especially in high school. I think it was a lot more like offense, and kind of like it was kind of like the defense got it, kicked it up to the forwards, and the forwards would score. It was kind of more like that. I think here, like we really try and like have our defenders build out and play it forward, and I think that our defense is just so important compared to high school.
And now here you are getting to play college soccer. For you, what's it like being with the fellow freshmen in this class? Because there's a lot of expectations about this group that was so highly touted coming in.
It's definitely a lot of pressure. I think that our class does a really good job, though, of like pushing each other. And honestly, like it's so exciting to come in with like such an amazing class, because it's like I think we can make such a huge impact on this team. And so it's less nerves and more just like excitement, and like getting to play with other players that like also play at a really high level. It's a really exciting thing.
Did you guys do a good job staying in touch, almost recruiting each other at times towards Alabama? Did you have a group text or anything like that where you'd stay in touch?
Yeah, so we had a Snapchat group chat where we would talk and stuff. And like me and Breezy went on our visit together when I was on my official and she was on her unofficial. I'm pretty sure she was on her unofficial, and we bonded instantly. And ever since then, we just talked every single like week, every single month. We talk about the games. And then as more people committed, I was one of the later ones to commit. I committed in end of October. So there was 3 players, I think, or 4 players already committed. But we made a group chat and we talked all the time. We tried to plan an unofficial visit together. It didn't end up happening, but we definitely stayed in touch. And I think that the communication that we had before really helped us when we all got on campus.
You mentioned Breezy. We enjoyed having her on the show a couple weeks ago. Just what is it about her that makes her such a special soccer player and poised, it seems like, for a great freshman year?
I honestly think that she has such a good attitude and like she works so hard. Like every practice, every game, she's always ready to go. Like I know like at practice, like if you say something to her, she's like so like locked in on the game and stuff. And I think that she's so athletic. She's so fast. She's so aggressive. I think that was kind of something that like our team not needed, but like we had a lot of it. We're in the SEC, but she brings a huge role in our back line of like sliding for the ball or making a tactical foul or something like that. I think that she is such a key player on our team.
She's from the West Coast. You're from the West Coast. Tell us about your journey from Washington here to Alabama.
My journey was a little bit different. So I really never was like looking on the South or really just because I didn't really know anything about it. But my family is huge in sports. And so I've always known about Alabama football and kind of stuff like that. And it was my junior year and when Wes had came out to one of our games because one of our older players was committed to Alabama on our team. And I kind of just got in touch with Wes and I loved everything about the school. Like he would send me videos and I was just like, wow, this is amazing. Like it's a whole different vibe than the West Coast because the West Coast isn't the same as the SEC at all. Like it's completely different. And so when I kind of like saw the videos that Wes would send me, I was like, I need to come visit. And then when I visited, I was like, wow, I do not want to be on the West Coast. Like it is amazing over here. And I kind of loved it ever since. But I never was really looking at Alabama before because I didn't really know anything about it. I wasn't really from the South.
Any other SEC schools? And you don't have to be specific, but were you also kind of thinking about this region very much at all? Or had you thought a lot of West Coast before Alabama entered the picture?
Before I was recruited, I had really not really thought about the SEC, but once I was able to start getting recruited, I realized that I play a lot like how the SEC plays. Like, I feel like I'm a very athletic, dynamic player. I'm not more of like Pac-12 is not a thing anymore, but I wasn't really a Pac-12 player. I thought I was more of an SEC player. And so I talked to some other SEC schools, but nothing really compared to this school.
And speaking of your style of play, how would you describe how you played in high school and in club?
I think I'm a very athletic player. I like to go 1v1 at people. I play outside forward, so sometimes I play center forward, but I like to like go at people. I like to use my speed. That's kind of like my main thing. I use my speed. But I love playing with the ball in the air, like headers, anything like that. I really like. But yeah, I think I'm just a kind of like going at kind of player.
And of course, teams get the scouting report on you that you were that kind of player, but you still were able to find the back of the net so often. What led to some of your success on the field?
I think it was my mentality, honestly. Like, if there was a ball coming in the box and I wasn't even in the box, I was like, I'm getting that ball. Like, that I'm scoring this goal. And that kind of was something that, like, drove me. Like, after every high school game, if I didn't score, I was like, what can I do next time? Like, how can I get the ball in the back of the net? Because that was my job. Like, that's what I'm on the field for. And so I think that, like, my mentality and my grit to go and find the ball really helped me get the ball in the back of the net.
Scored a lot of goals, number one rated player coming out of the state of Washington. You mentioned getting to talk to Coach Hart. What was it about Coach Hart during the recruiting process that helped also sell you that this is the right man to play for?
He was one of the only coaches that was so personable. Like, he knew things about me, and he really made me feel like it was like a family here. Like, other schools, they would be like, it would be a conversation that was a little bit awkward and not like, we weren't really talking about personal things. But when I got on the phone call with Wes, it was like, how are you doing? How was school? How was this? And that kind of just like brought like a sense of peace almost, like that he really cared about me and like my other life outside of soccer.
So you get to know Coach Hart, you get to see some videos, you get to make a visit here. What ultimately led to you putting your name on that paper, signing with Alabama on signing day?
Honestly, our 2022 season of making it to the Final Four, I was like, wow, like this team is good. Like they know how to like persevere. They know how to keep going. And so like that was kind of like a really cool mentality that I saw, and I watched all the games that year. And so I was like, this team is like on the upcoming, and I really wanted to be a part of that.
Did you get to know a lot of those players, even though you may not get to play with them here at Alabama, but some of the stars of that team, did you really get to know in their recruiting process?
I didn't know them too well on my official visit. It was around the time that we were going to playoffs, and so I got to meet some of them. But it was like they were so like locked in, ready for the game. It was kind of hard to like get to know any of them. But it's so cool to see how like all of them have like so many of them have gone on to go pro.
And that has to inspire you for what you want to do beyond Tuscaloosa.
Totally, yeah, 100%.
That's really good. So again, signing day is exciting. You get to come here to Tuscaloosa in the spring early, and you get to play some. But then, unfortunately, an injury. Just tell us what happened that led to you missing the rest of the spring.
So we were at practice, and we were just doing a scrimmage. It was like 18 to 18, and we had lift before, and it was kind of just a crazy week. And it was a corner, and it was a short corner. And so I was in the front, and they played out the short corner, and I ended up winning it. And so it was kind of like a breakaway. I was like on the way to goal. I was like, I'm ready to go. Here we go. And then as I got close to goal, I shot it, and I shot with my right foot, and I landed on my right knee, and it just completely like popped. And I collapsed on the ground, and I was literally screaming bloody murder. Like, it was the worst pain that I've ever experienced. And so one thing I really love about this school is like everyone, like injuries are taken so serious. Like everyone is just so accounted for. And so the second that I got hurt, we called Dr. Bentley, and I ended up getting in the next day, and he did some tests, and he was like, it's not looking too good. So I went and got an MRI, and I found out the next day that I had tore my ACL. And so that was probably the hardest thing that I've ever gone through. Just had gotten here enrolled early. Like, it's supposed to be my senior year in high school. I'm here. I'm so excited. I've been waiting 2 years to come here. And then it's like March 8th, and I just completely tore my ACL.
That's really tough. Who'd you lean on during times like that, especially being so far away from home?
I leaned on my teammates for sure. My mom had came the next day that I found out I tore my ACL before I was getting surgery. Maria on our soccer team has had 2 ACL tears. And so I really like went to her to like give me advice, and she would send me like all of her old stuff from like when she was going through her ACL tears and kind of stuff like that. So it was really nice to like talk to people who had also gone through the same thing, because it is not easy. Like, it has been so hard, but knowing that there's other people that came out on the other side and were completely okay, is just like really great to hear. I also talked to Riley Mattingly. She obviously graduated, but she had came over a couple times and like hung out with me, and we watched The Bachelor together, and she kind of just like made me feel at peace. And like, I know her recovery story. Like, she came out and she was just amazing after. And Wes was like, right after I tore it, Wes sent me the video of her when she was talking about her comeback story. And it's just so inspiring, because it's like, she's someone that like I actually know, and like goes to this school or went to this school, and she could overcome it. So it's like inspiring for me.
Yeah, she overcame it and became the best player in the SEC.
Totally. Yeah, she's amazing. She's so good.
So that's really good. What were some important milestones over the spring and summer months to help get you back to where you are running on the field and can contribute hopefully this year?
A couple milestones was definitely running, which I've been able to do the last month. The strength in my quad, it's very hard. Like, it's been very like a struggle for me to get it back. Because it's like everything, jumping, running, everything, cutting. I haven't cut yet. Hopefully in the next couple weeks I'll be cutting. But yeah, there's just been a lot of things that like, it's small wins, but it's a win. Like, when I got off crutches, it was a win. Like, I kind of just had to find the positive in the things so I could keep going. But I unfortunately am getting tendonitis in my knee from doing too much. So that's another milestone I'm trying to overcome right now, trying to like not do so much. But it's just hard. Like, I'm so excited to get back, and it's like, I just want to play on the field.
Absolutely. With all that in mind, and definitely you want to get back in the field, but how do you hope to impact this team during these next few months?
Honestly, I just want to be like the best teammate. Like, we talk about Mudita, which is something that the softball coach Murphy had came up with. And I just like, I want to be happy for the players that are on the field, on the bench, at practice. I just want to be like everyone's biggest cheerleader. Because although I can't, like, hopefully I'll be able to make an impact on the field this year. If I can't, like, I want to be everyone's cheerleader, and I want to be like motivation for people to keep going. Like, I think that I can play a big role just by like being there for people.
Obviously, you're excited for soccer season. How about for football season and just having students back on campus, a normal fall experience? How excited are you for what's coming up?
I'm so excited. This is my first fall here. So I was here in the spring, and people are like, the spring is nothing compared to the fall. I'm so excited for football games. Like, I went on both my visits here. I went to the football game and I got to go in the field, and I was like, wow, like this is crazy. Like it was so much fun, and like the tailgate is crazy. Like I have never seen anything like that, and I'm just so excited to like get to be with my teammates, get to see other athletes, like friends that I know from like the dining hall or like just to know like around campus. Like I'm so excited to like watch them play, and I'm so excited to just like see the SEC like culture around here.
What's your focus in the classroom?
I am in my major is sports management, and so I hopefully want to be like an agent, a professional player, or like manage like a NFL or an NBA team and like kind of plan like their camps with kids and kind of stuff like that. I really like to give back to the community, and so that's something that I like want those professional teams to kind of like give back to people that all are like supporting their games and stuff. But I enjoy school. I like school. I first was going to do kinesiology like in the spring, and I kind of was like, this is not for me. So I changed, but I'm so excited for this fall. So hopefully all my classes work out.
Absolutely. We hope everything works out as well for you on the field as well. Can't wait for your recovery to continue and get you back on the field and hopefully scoring a lot of goals
Totally.
for the Crimson Tide. Ashley, Roni, it's been a blast getting to know you here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Just thank you for your time. Hope to have you back again. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Thank you so much.
Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, continues, and NASCAR's biggest and baddest track, of course, is back. Don't miss out on a weekend full of NASCAR playoffs action this fall. Racing returning to Talladega Superspeedway October 4th all the way through the 6th. Purchase your tickets today at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com. We'll race on over to the Naylorstone Media Room. Of course, the Crimson Tide are getting set for what is Week 1 against Western Kentucky, and that means the return of Monday press conferences. Now, in the Dippre era, it is going to be a little bit different. Starting at 11:30, you can hear from, first of all, the coordinators, Nick Sheridan with the offense, Kane Womack with the defense, and then right around noon, it will be the head coach of the Crimson Tide taking the stage. Of course, Kalen DeBoer. You can always watch that. We always repost it here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network when it's streaming live on Mondays, but we wanted to bring you a portion of what Coach DeBoer had to say to the media on what's a very special week. His first week leading the Crimson Tide in an actual game coming up this Saturday against Western Kentucky. Here's Coach's checklist and thoughts from the head coach of the Crimson Tide, Kalen DeBoer.
So guys, I'm CJ Dippre. I'm here with Crimson Tide, driven by NASCAR.
Finally game week. So I'm sure just like everyone across the country and our fan base, our players are excited. So they've put a lot of work in. The thing I guess I'm most impressed with is just how they've sustained a high level of energy, not just the first week or the first 2 weeks. They've really sustained a high level of energy, focus, all the way through camp. And, Saturday was, I think, a great example for us. Had a great practice, just a lot of, just get to work. It's the same thing I would expect tomorrow. But, you kind of get that week out and things like that. And I was just really impressed with our guys' mindset. And yesterday, again, just getting the guys together and getting their workouts and just the film sessions and just the level of attention to detail. They're excited to play and excited to hit someone else. Really looking forward to this Saturday against a Western Kentucky team that, coached by Coach Helton. A lot of respect. I know our staff has a lot of respect, both sides of the ball, myself included. We know Coach Helton's done a great job there at Western Kentucky as well as the rest of his career. Going to be, a great football game. Got a coach with a offensive mindset. I think defensively we got to make sure we're aware of what they're going to do to attack us. And there's a lot of questions I think in both sides of the ball, all phases, especially the first game. Depth charts and things like that. You just pretty much looking at a roster and trying to place all the transfers and all the guys that are returning, especially on their team, trying to place those into spots that you might expect and figure out the numbers the best you can. So looking forward to another great week here going into the game, and excited about it where we're at. He's been consistent, and that's what I think one of the biggest qualities that you can have is consistent. Obviously you want it consistently at the highest level you possibly can, but you want to walk on the field, and this is for any player, but I think this is something that Jalen's done a better and better job of since we've gotten here, and it's what you're going to get. when you get out there. You know, whether it's the attitude and the effort, you know, again, the play on the field, you know, there really haven't been some crazy highs or crazy lows. I think he's just continuing to build, continuing to work with his guys, whether it's the offensive line and the communication and making sure he's on the same page with maybe protections, you know, run checks or whatever it might be, the receiving core on timing of routes, you know, a lot of communication. I think he continued to grow and evolve, you know, as well. So the consistency, you know, I really have an appreciation for what he's done. He's been really patient going way back to the spring on letting us, you know, just put the offense in the progression that we're used to and the things that we see. You know, you always see things that you want to get in, and these are the things that you did really well, and we get to those. But there's a progression with the teaching that's happened, and I just appreciate the patience he's had from the very beginning when we got here on getting through all of it and now being ready to play week 1. Yeah, I think every year, it isn't even just about one school to another. I think it's the roster you have. And each year that gets tweaked a little bit. You might be running back, you know, with a little more depth, or tight ends, you know, is your one of your key areas. You know, I think we're very balanced across all of the skill positions. And then, of course, you look at your quarterback, you look at the strength, what you can do offensive line-wise. And so it's never exactly from one year to the next, even if there's a lot of continuity, because you're going to lose someone. So there's certainly some adjustments that Coach Sheridan, our staff, has done in really working with the personnel. So, you know, that will continue to evolve as the season goes along. You know, you have guys that continue to improve, especially younger guys or guys that are you know, kind of taking those next steps. They'll make those big steps, and you'll really incorporate them, and it might be a package at some point that they're incorporated in, and then all of a sudden it's something where they're a regular player and maybe even a starter.
That's the head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide, Kalen DeBoer. Of course, he was at the podium yesterday. Tomorrow, he will be on the mic. Hey, Coach, and the Kalen DeBoer Show as we start to take a look at what's coming up. A very busy time ahead here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Let's see our upcoming schedule. Well, as I mentioned, tomorrow, 6 o'clock, Hey Coach and the Kalen DeBoer Show will continue our game week coverage of Alabama football. And, of course, that's at Baumhower's Victory Grill. Video stream is available on Alabama Athletics social media accounts. We'll repost it here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network, and the replay available as well on the Alabama Insider Podcast. Thursday, we'll be back with another edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, and we're excited for what's coming up on that show. We'll have conversation with Alabama defensive lineman Tim Smith as part of the Countdown Fall Camp of the Crimson Tide podcast presented by Poetry Financial. And then we'll visit with Taylor McGregor of ESPN, the sideline reporter for this Saturday's broadcast. And speaking of broadcasters, Randy Lee, the voice of Western Kentucky, will join us for the other booth presented by Marathon. Then we'll also visit with an Alabama legend and our new sideline reporter, Damian Square. And plus, we'll get the final word from head coach Kalen DeBoer. So all of that coming up on Thursday at 2 p.m. Friday, make sure you check out a new episode of Tide TV This Week to our TV affiliates across the state, as well as on demand on the Alabama Athletics YouTube channel. Then on Saturday, Game 1, Alabama against Western Kentucky. It'll start at 6 o'clock. 3 p.m. we will hit the air for the Crimson Tide Sports Network, as we'll actually be outside to begin our coverage at Vector Security Champions Lane. Of course, Champions Lane just outside the Walk of Champions. It is going to be a fun place to be. Starting at 3 o'clock on Saturday, we'll also have more details on all the fun going on even before we hit the air for radio. Champions Lane will be very active all Saturday long here in Tuscaloosa. Sunday, of course, Chris Stewart will recap the ball game with Coach DeBoer for the Kalen DeBoer television show. By the way, if you missed that first episode, it is available on demand now on all Alabama Athletics social media platforms. And then Monday, the return of Crimson Tide Rewind. We are really fired up to be back at Baumhower's Victory Grill in Vestavia Hills, as Corey Reamer and I will break down the game. You can listen to Crimson Tide Rewind on radio as well as the Varsity Network app, and then we'll have a video replay available starting on Tuesday on the Crimson Tide Sports Network YouTube channel. So many different shows coming up, different interviews coming up. We're just trying to get you ready for what's coming up between Alabama and Western Kentucky. Make sure you're following us on all of our social media accounts listed below. Subscribe to us on YouTube, especially for all of these clips and the full interviews that are kind of standalone posts to go along with the full episodes. It's just a busy time, and the best way to stay connected to the Crimson Tide is by following the Crimson Tide Sports Network. That's a look at our upcoming schedule. That's going to wrap up this edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. A huge thank you to our guest, starting with CJ Dippre from the Alabama football team, who joined us at the Advantage Center, as well as soccer's Ashley Roni, and then the voice of the Crimson Tide, Chris Stewart, along to give us his first Hey Coach and Alabama football game preview of the year. Thanks as well to Ethan Carabin, the video producer who put this entire show together and kept it live all throughout. We appreciate Ethan and his fine work, and we appreciate all of you for joining us on a Tuesday, the first time we've been with you for Tuesday and Thursday editions of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Again, we're going to have this coming up for you twice a week, including on a Tuesday, all throughout the rest of football season. But before I make any other bad jokes, let's wrap it up. I'm Roger Hoover from Tuscaloosa saying good afternoon and roll Tide.